All right, let's get to some questions here. Neil is coming on. Good to see you. Saying, how much sets and reps per muscle per week? I do compound lifts, do full body 3 times a week. So if you're kind of new to my methods here, Neil, I use what I call my adaptive training program. So I don't have a static number that I ever stick to for sets and reps and things like that. And the reason for that is simple, is because your ability to get a good workout in does not come from how much work you do. And that's why a lot of advice in our fitness culture is kind of more about random, almost estimated guesses at best. Because a fundamental approach teaches us that it's not whether you do 3 sets or 500 reps or whatever you're doing, right? The amount of work that you can do and the amount of work you should do is always changing and in flux. Case in point, we're talking about inevitable changes with the seasons and the holidays and things like that. So anytime that we're basing our diet and exercise programs off of static numbers, like let's say I just pulled numbers out of thin air. I don't know, work a muscle twice a week for a total of 16 sets or 8 sets or something like that. Like I'm just pulling numbers out of the air. No matter what I give you, chances are it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Because unless it's ridiculously extreme, like do 2 sets per week or do 100 sets per week, chances are it's going to work pretty well. There was a study years ago that came out and it said something like the ideal number of sets you should do in a workout or something, or work a muscle per week. And people were saying, what do you think of this study? What do you think of this study? And the recommendation was so broad. It was something like, okay, the ideal way to build muscle and strength is to work a muscle. It was something like between 6 and 20 sets a week or something like that. And I was like, that's so broad. Like, show me any workout program that's not going to fit that. You might as well have just said, yeah, just do whatever, because it probably would have fit that sort of thing. And so with an adaptive approach, the reason why I use an adaptive approach is because it's not how much work you do, it's how well you can create a fundamental stimulus from your training. And your ability to do that is always going to be in flux. Sometimes you're going to be able or should do a lot more work. Sometimes you should scale back and do a lot less work. So no matter what number I give you, whether it's like, okay, work a muscle twice a week for a total of 10 sets, okay? Again, pulling it straight out of thin air, it's probably going to be good, but it's going to be meh at best, because there's definitely going to be times you should be definitely doing a lot more, because you have more time, you have more energy, you have more motivation, you have more capacity for whatever reason. And in general, when it comes to working out, more work is going to get you better results in general. Right? But at the same time, there are certainly instances where you're going to want to have a lot more of a prudent approach. Like, dude, I only worked my legs once this week. And that's all you should be doing, because you're exhausted, you're tired, you're getting over a cold, your partner just gave birth to quintuplets. There's a million reasons why you should barely be doing any type of hardcore training, because life is hardcore enough as it is. So that's why I'm always telling people, don't worry about how much work you do. Focus on creating that fundamental stimulus that I talk about in my latest book. For example, if you're trying to build strength, contract your muscles extremely hard to whatever capacity you can, in whatever way you can. You mentioned compound movements. Okay, deadlifts, progressive push-ups, weighted dips, bench press, overhead press, that sort of thing, right? Do it in whatever capacity you can. Do enough work that you're creating a stimulus, which happens with almost any amount of work you do. But at the same time, don't do it so much that you're just driving yourself into the ground. Because if you're coming into a workout and you're tired and you're like, man, I can barely do anything. I usually, bench 225 and I could barely get 150 this time. Okay, you're doing too much. I don't care what Joe Schmo over on, fitnessgodsrx.com, whatever, says about the optimal number of sets and reps. You're never going to get what you want out of your workouts if you're following a protocol that tells you how much work you should do. You need to be focusing on creating a powerful stimulus. And then you just do however many sets and reps. And if you can do that working a muscle every day, great. If you could do that working a muscle once a week or even less, great. Then you just do the amount of work necessary to do that.